This land is the territory of the Huron-Wendat and Petun First Nations, the Seneca, and most recently the Mississaugas of the Credit River. The territory was the subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy and the Ojibwe and allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Today, the meeting place of Toronto is still home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. And we are grateful to have the opportunity to work in the community on this territory.
It's interesting. Today is considered Earth Day, and one day out of the year we look at it from that perspective, but I think we should have Earth Day every single day because that's where our future is coming from. So I'm going to, as we begin today, offer a prayer to our Creator, that the words that we say and the actions that we do will coincide so that we can help the next generations to come. So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask if you stand for a second, and I'm going to offer some words in the language that residential schools told my parents would never be worth anything. And the words that they were told to forget was something that they did. So I was very lucky to be around elders who gave me some direction and said that that language that Creator gave us is really inside of our hearts, and we'll never lose it. We just have to find a way to inspire ourselves to use it. So I've been doing that, and I'd like to offer a prayer in this manner. Bujo Myeengun dejnikas deshkan zibi donjiba Myeengun dodem ketche manado chimigwech binwak kina mashkiki osama wingashk mashko de wish min wigijik ketche manado chimigwech minwak kina mino bamadaziwen ketche manado chimigwech minwa kina mampi ganajuan gijgat nungum. Just want to say thank you to our Creator for all that we've been given, the medicines this beautiful day, and the teachings that we hope we'll have in our heart forever. Miigwech.
Hi, my name is Billie Pierre. I'm from the Nlaka'Pamux Nation, located in the southern interior of the colonial borders of BC. I'm really honored, and to be on this territory. I also want to acknowledge that my father is from Treaty 4, and his paternal lineage, actually, they migrated from Ontario. So, I have like blood connections and probably alliances with this area, and I just want to acknowledge that, and walk and talk respectfully while I'm here. Kuksham. So again, I'm from the Nlaka'Pamux Nation near Merritt, BC, and Merritt is by Kamloops for many of you who aren't, familiar with Merritt. So it's kind of a deserty region. So I'm here to talk about our current struggle about the Kinder Morgan expansion that was approved in December of last year. So it's been on, okay, I'm just gonna read this. Okay. So there's a lack of information out there about the impacts of Kinder Morgan's Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion project that's been approved by the National Energy Board and by the federal government. So I'm here to talk about the current struggle that my people are facing. The Nlaka'Pamux territory stretches from near Kamloops, BC to near Hope, BC, and down to the foot of Mount Baker in Washington. My political leanings are traditional, so I'm not representing any Indian band or any form of governing that stems from Canada. And there's many ways which BC is different than some other parts of Canada in that we haven't signed any treaties, we haven't lost our territories through war. Legally, our territories belong entirely to the Indigenous nations that have been there on the land before any European contact. The Canadian laws recognize our legal rights in the British North America Act, the Royal Proclamation, the Canadian Constitution of 1982, and other acts. BC is not at all a legal entity, So we have our full rights over our traditional territories, which is not upheld by Canada, as you're all probably aware of, and we face the same racism, classism, and displacement that Native people all over, within, and beyond the colonial borders of Canada face. Many Native people in BC are also unaware of the amount of political power that we really have, and many continue to uphold the band council system. Many also rely on resource extraction for subsistence. In fact, logging and mining are two major industries in the Nicola Valley, where I come from. I myself do not support any further resource extraction or see the Band Council as a legitimate Indigenous system, but I want my words and actions to reflect the love that I have for all my people and my respect for their dignity. In no way does this stop my wishes, though, to see the entire Nlaka'Pamux territory protected from further exploitation. I've been actively involved in the sovereignty and land struggle since the mid-1990s. There's a vibrant and inspiring resistance coming from the so-called interior of BC to defend hunting grounds, protect ancestors, protect our land for our people. My people's traditional allies are the Secwepemc and the St'át'imc, who are more well-known and who have been more active in recent years. Gustafson, the armed standoff that took place in 1995, and the struggle to stop the Sun Peak ski resort expansion in the early 2000s took place on the Secwepemc territory, which is a neighboring territory. Less known are the St'át'imc struggles that took place in Shutika, land that has been successfully protected since the year 2000 from an unwanted ski resort. Ulush, an ancestral pit house village, has also been successfully protected on St'át'imc territory for the past 2 years from unwanted logging. Both nations, the Secwepemc and the St'át'imc, have also roadblocked in support of the Mohawk struggle in 1990 in Oka. So there's been a lot of sovereign activity, really inspiring and motivating, for a long time, probably since about the 70s. Less known are the actions of my nation, the Nlaka'Pamux Nation, which have taken place through various Nlaka'Pamux Indian bands. We've had a successful anti-logging struggle to protect the Stein Valley in the late 1980s. We've had a successful struggle to protect the Coquihalla area, which is probably our richest hunting and berry picking grounds. It's full of sacred sites. It's beautiful. It's between Merritt and Hope. We protected this area from an unwanted ski resort in the mid-2000s. We've had a recent achievement preventing biosolids from being dumped through the Nicola Valley. And this was organized by all the Indian bands in the area and also residents of Merritt who did not want to see biosolids. For those of you who aren't familiar with biosolids, what it was a combination of industrial waste from ports in the Lower Mainland near Vancouver and human sewage. They wanted to treat it and turn it into soil and dump it all over the Nicola Valley. So actually, the Greater Vancouver has constantly been dumping garbage all over the interior. There is towns where that's like their economy. Part of their economy is a garbage dump. So it's very toxic. It pollutes water. But where I'm from, we stopped that. And it's, they'll still want to do the biosolids, but it's been pretty powerful stopping it. Merritt is an area where there's several highways. There's so many highways there. And 3 checkpoints were set up. People were guarding those checkpoints. They were stopping trucks that were full of sewage and turning them around. And this was made up of, it was led by Native people, and it was supported by Merritt residents, which is pretty impressive because the interior has a history of being very racist. So this is something very new. And I just want to acknowledge this amazing work that has been done by all these people, and also acknowledge that there is potential for a lot of potential and desire for a lot of resistance to the Kinder Morgan pipeline. So So the Trans Mountain Pipeline crosses about 200 kilometers of the Nlaka'Pamux territory. There's 2 pumping stations on the territory. It goes through hunting grounds, berry picking grounds. It already threatens our water sources, our salmon. It's so close to the Fraser River or the Thompson River. The Fraser actually up in northern, like near closer to, I guess, the Rockies, and then the Thompson lower down. And those are major salmon rivers. The Thompson River was, and I hope still is, a major, like one of the most abundant salmon spawning rivers in the world. And I just also want to acknowledge, I guess, in 2014, there's a Mount Polly rupture, and that happened very close to the Thompson River. And where I'm from, we're downstream from where that happened, and like my people fish, and like I've been to community meetings where people are saying they get like half a salmon. This year they got half a salmon. Like a few years ago, we were like filling our freezers, and it is changed, you know, and the whole interior is full of mining and logging, and one of the biggest open pit mines in the world is actually close to Merritt in Logan Lake on the territory. It's been there since the 50s. It's polluted several like water sources. It's reserves for my nation have been shut down because of the pollution from this mine. And it's Teck. Everyone's familiar with Teck? Highland Valley Copper. So I know Teck's done some evil things all over the world, and they've done it in BC also. And this mine was put there without our consultation. And, you know, it's really impacted our land. And the Kinder Morgan pipeline was also done without our consultation. In fact, shortly before the Kinder Morgan project really, like before it was built, the band council system was formed. And, you know, it wasn't there before the Kinder Mountain, you know, pipeline. Or it wasn't Kinder Morgan at this time, but the Trans Mountain pipeline. And once the pipeline was there, without our consultation, like one band, you know, the band that I'm registered in, the Lower Nicola Indian Band, was given like something like $50. The Coldwater Indian Band was given like $100 or something around that ballpark, you know, figure. So that's kind of a little bit of the history of the Trans Mountain, and I guess what Merritt looks like the economy, the pollution. So it's already like the land's pretty scarred already, but like, you know, BC, like we can swim in our waters, we can live on the land. Like there's still a lot of clean land and water, and you know, we need it. I can't even believe it. I have 5 minutes left. Okay, I'm gonna go read this. Okay, so in the past few years, Kinder Morgan has consulted with various bands, Indian bands in the Nicola Valley, and also Okanagan band. These consultations only involved whether the bands would agree to have the pipelines built on reserves. So it doesn't matter if it's off reserve, it's still going to be built. If we don't agree, the bands don't agree to have the pipeline, it's built around the reserve. It's still on our hunting grounds. And so 2 of the bands don't want the pipeline on the reserves and have filed judicial reviews. The band that I'm registered in actually approved. So, you know, there's probably going to be a fight to stop 2, you know, to protect 2 reserves from having pipelines built on them. There was 2 leaks, Kinder Morgan leaks, that happened in, I do believe, 2013. One happened on Coldwater Reserve, which is an Nlaka'Pamux, you know, reserve. It wasn't properly cleaned up. The people weren't really notified right away, and it came close to hitting the Coldwater River. So that's, the Coldwater River comes from the Coquihalla Mountains and is like glacier. Like that's clean water, and salmon, you know, like we have fish in that river that we want to protect. You know, we don't want to see them, you know, in danger, but this pipeline threatens our well-being. And Kinder Morgan has a really horrible background of ruptures and leaks in Canada along the Trans Mountain Pipeline and in the States. And they have a history of not informing, you know, local authorities about leaks. and they don't clean up properly. They have a history of not updating records about where their pipelines are located. So the Burnaby, the leak that happened in Burnaby, the people who actually hit that pipeline, like the workers, didn't know it was there because they had a map from the 50s. So they had no idea that they hit up, and this polluted the Burrard Inlet in Burnaby. So, this is not a good company to be doing work with. You do not want to give them any more power. And, I don't think there's anyone in this room who wants to see the tar sands expanded. This pipeline specifically will support the expansion of the tar sands. That is negative for the entire globe. So, I'm really thankful to be here. And, when things heat up, and they're going to, when you hear anything about Kinder Morgan, please support us. We really need that. And anything to keep, the fossil fuels in the ground. We need that. So, Cooksham.